Bueno, és primer convidat.
So our first guest is Mukti Mitchel.
Ell, bueno, ha fet moltes coses.
He's done many things. He lives in England.
És mariner, és fuster,
He's a sailor.
escritor.
He's a woodworker. He's a writer.
M'imagino que heu agafat
And
d'aquí
he's into bioconstruction
material castellà. El tenim?
and sustainability. Do you all have a flyer with you?
Si no, llavors el podeu
Most people
trobar.
do.
És un flyer
Okay,
que
so you
m'ha
will
fet
be able to find this
Enriqueta,
outside.
el tenim penjat.
We've translated this flyer in Spanish and English. Sorry, in Catalan and Spanish. And it's about what we can do, especially to be in alignment with nature. So he's going to tell us about who he is and what he's doing out there. And I must say that he's Satish Kumar's son also.
Thank you, Guillaume. It's a real honor to be here in Mallorca, in this beautiful land, with you beautiful people. I'm very happy to be here. So, my talk today, smart living, a how-to for happiness, or how to increase your quality of life while doing your bit to reduce climate change. Firstly, a little bit about myself. Guillaume gave you some words. Growing up as the son of Satish Kumar in the world of Resurgence magazine, I learnt the environmental ideas while I was growing up. So when I left school, I wanted to put them into practice. And I read James Lovelock, who said that CO2, or I understood from him that CO2 was going to be the big question of the 21st century. So I dedicated my life to reducing CO2 emissions. So that was when I left university at 22. Now I'm 46, so 24 years of living a low-carbon lifestyle and promoting low-carbon lifestyles. And all my work is towards reducing CO2 emissions. And it's led me on some interesting pathways. And one of those things was to build a zero-emission micro-yacht. So hopefully, yes, you can see. So this boat is small enough to row and seaworthy enough to sail around Britain due to a special keel design which I invented. And so this is me sailing around Britain to promote low-carbon lifestyles in 2007. And you can imagine what a gift that was for me, what a privilege to have sponsorship, to enable me to take time off work and sail for 6 months, see the beautiful British coast, and meet a lot of people, and give 45 talks on how to cut your carbon footprint. And then I started a company to insulate old homes. So homes over 100 years old, and started 10 years ago. And this is our team. We have insulated 600 homes and saved 10,000 tons of CO2. And met so many wonderful homeowners and seen so many beautiful homes at the same time. So that's a little bit about my life and my work. So I also have a little meditation for you, just to think for yourself for 1 minute. So I would like you all to close your eyes for 1 minute and think for yourself, what is quality of life for you? Thank you. I'm going to ask you a question. So what is your quality of life in, not today, but in this last year or so? How would you rate your own quality of life on a scale of 1 to 10? So I want you to think for a moment. Just pick a number just from your gut, and I want you, if you chose a number from 0 to 4, I want you to raise your hand. If you chose a number from 5 to 7, I want you to raise your hand. And if you chose a number from 8 to 10, I want you to raise your hand. Great, thank you. So half of us rate our quality of life 5 to 7, and half rate our quality of life 8 to 10. Fantastic. We've got good quality of life. Now, I've got a question, and it's going to involve a little bit of talking. So I want you to talk to the person next to you for 1 minute. And so the one person is going to go first. And for 1 minute, you're going to say 3 things that you would like to do to improve your quality of life. Something that you can really do. Something very small, something big, doesn't matter. First thing that comes to your mind. And so in 3 time scales, something that you will do tomorrow to improve your quality of life, something that you will do in the next week to improve your quality of life, and something that you will do in the next year to improve your quality of life. So with the person next to you, the first person starts. I'll give you 1 minute.
When you have 3 minutes left, she's going to show you.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. That's the first person. Now, can you swap to the second person? So 10, 10. Okay, thank you. So, we've all talked about something we could do, something small or large, to improve our own quality of life. And the things that create a lot of CO2 emissions are heating things up, transporting things around, and using a lot of fossil fuels. With this knowledge, I want you to raise your hand if the things that you chose to improve your quality of life, if you think they are low carbon. Raise your hand. At least half, maybe 2/3. And now raise your hand if you think the things that you chose to improve your quality of life are high carbon. Nobody chose an activity to improve your quality of life that's high carbon. Amazing. So, this is, and my talk is how improving your quality of life reduces your carbon footprint. So, what psychologists say, we have a wonderful psychologist here. I wonder if he agrees. Somebody did a study. What psychologists say about what makes us happy. What doesn't make us happy, they say, is money, material possessions, intelligence, education, age, gender, or attractiveness. Few. And what makes us happy, according to the studies by psychologists, in order of importance, family and relationships is top of the list. Meaningful work, positive thinking, gratitude, forgiveness, giving to others, spiritual connection, personal freedom. I would add, maybe that's the freedom for how we use our time. Good health, and some entertainment. I wonder if the things that you chose fitted with this. And most of these things also require no money. So now, I'm going to switch from quality of life onto looking at our carbon footprint, because my life is dedicated to reducing CO2 emissions. And now, as we're all so aware, Greta Thunberg, David Attenborough, Extinction Rebellion, now the conversation is getting so loud across the world about attaining climate equilibrium, so that our children and grandchildren have a beautiful world to live in. So this is for the UK, but I imagine it's similar in Spain. I imagine it's similar in Mallorca. That the typical carbon footprint, which means the total CO2 emissions from your life for a whole year, from all your life activities, everything that you do, but pertaining to you as one individual, typical carbon footprint in the UK, and I guess in Spain, 15 tons per person per year, including international manufacturing, aviation, and shipping. And this comes from 5 lifestyle areas, the most important lifestyle areas. Heating our homes and cooling our homes in Spain. Transporting ourselves around. Food, holidays, and products, the things that we buy. So those are the 5 lifestyle areas that roughly equal 3 tons each, making up the 15 tons per person per year for our carbon footprint. Now, how do we raise our quality of life in these 5 areas? So, in our homes, what kind of home do we want? We want a warm home in winter, a cool home in summer. We want the home to be low cost, and we want to feel good about our homes. So in transport, we want to be, what's the best quality of life that we could have in transport is to be chauffeur-driven, driven by somebody else. So public transport, trains, ships, and buses, you're driven by somebody else. So you can read and relax. So that improves your quality of life. Food. What is the best food that we could wish for in our lives? Food that is the most delicious, the most nutritious, and food that is low in toxins. And what kind of food is like that? Local, organic food is the best quality. And that also reduces your carbon footprint by 80% in food. Holidays. What kind of holiday do we really want? Speaking for myself, I believe that if I go on a holiday, a long trip, and I don't change inside myself, I don't have an inner journey, it's very unsatisfying. But if I go on a small holiday nearby, locally, something happens inside me, I go on an inner journey, it's very satisfying. So I believe what we're looking for, as well as rest and relaxation, but when we travel, we're looking for an inner journey. And the kind of journey that promotes an inner journey is traveling by ground-level transport. Ships, trains, buses. I came from England on Thursday by train and ferry. It's 10 hours from London to Barcelona. And then I had dinner, tortilla española, in Barcelona. And then I got on the ferry and arrived here yesterday morning at breakfast time. It was a lovely journey, lovely journey. And it gave me a chance to think about my life before and think about my life, my days in Mallorca, and have some inner change when you're sitting on the train looking out the window. It's good for inner journey. So holidays, the most eco-friendly travel is also the most satisfying. And products. What kind of products do we want if we're pursuing quality of life? We want the best products, the most beautiful products, the products that work really well, really user-friendly, and the products that last a long time. And if we all purchase quality, long-lasting products, it will cut the carbon footprint of products by 80%. So you can see that the life that we want to pursue for quality of life also is good for the environment and reduces the CO2 emissions. So, are you ready to take action in your lives? The most effective things you can do to raise your quality of life while reducing your carbon footprint are, now I'm going to tell you the 10 things. So, insulate your home. Be warmer, save money on fuel bills, feel good about your home. It saves 2 tons of CO2 per person per year. Switch to a renewable electricity company that generates electricity from wind and solar. I don't know if you have those in Spain. I hope you do. Yes. Yeah. So it's an easy thing to do. Switch to a renewable energy company. Feel good about your electricity use. Save 1 ton of CO2 per person per year. Travel to work differently. Just sharing a lift with one other person on a typical commute of 30 kilometers distance from your home to your work. Just sharing a lift with one other person reduces your carbon footprint by 2 tons per person per year. But of course, going by public transport, train, bus, electric car, or if you can cycle, it's even better. and you get more social time, more rest and recuperation, more exercise, and you can read a good book. I was traveling to work for 6 months when I was working as a carpenter. I had 20 minutes in the morning and in the evening, and I read over the 6 months 2 books that I wouldn't have had time to read at the end of the day. I often fall asleep when I go to bed. I'm too tired to read, so that improved my quality of life. Downsize your car, save money on fuel and insurance. Parking will be easier. Save 1 ton of CO2. Buy seasonal, local, organic food, as I said, saves 1 ton of CO2 and gets you the best flavor, the least toxins, supports wildlife. Something very important for me when I go to an organic shop in England and I pay twice as much for my food as I could in the supermarket. When I reach out for the packet of organic oats, I see fields surrounded by hedgerows with birds in the hedgerows and butterflies in the hedgerows, and I see the bees and the insects, and it's so beautiful. And I think next time I'm traveling through the countryside, I'm going to be traveling through countryside with beautiful hedgerows and flowers and insects and butterflies, because I'm buying that world. I'm supporting that world when I buy this packet of oats. And so it seems quite cheap to me to pay €2 for a packet of oats. And when I go to the supermarket and I very rarely go to the supermarket, but when I see the packet of oats for €1, I see these empty fields with big fields with tractors and spraying, and the hedgerows haven't got butterflies and they don't have insects. And I think that's very expensive, that €1 packet of oats. So I help myself, I sell myself that low-carbon lifestyle every day by connecting with those images of the world that I'm buying. And I feel good about myself because I think I'm creating the world that I want to live in. And it's very empowering then. So reduce meat and dairy consumption by 50%. You don't have to become vegetarian. You don't have to become vegan. Just reducing by 50% will save 0.5 ton of CO2 per year. So, and that can improve your health. I don't know what meat is like in Spain. You might have very good quality meat. I know you have very tasty meat. I've never eaten meat in my whole life. But I know from friends you have very tasty meat. Maybe your meat is very good quality. Maybe it's low in toxins. So maybe it's more healthy than England. I don't know. But in England, unfortunately, a lot of the meat is full of toxins. It's quite bad for people's health. And some people say that a lot of bowel cancer comes from eating unhealthy meat. So I hope that just reducing by half, you still can then have the best meat, buy the best quality meat, eat really good meat, if you eat meat, and the rest of the time have the best quality vegetables. Guillaume gave us a beautiful meal, which was the meal, you probably all know, the meal of the most poor people of Mallorca last night with alcachofas, and it was so delicious. So ditch a 2-hour premium return flight. Taking the train will avoid airport stress, save checking in time, and you'll enjoy the journey more. I can tell you from coming by train that the quality of the time is very good. There's very little time that is kind of dead time, because the time it takes to walk up the platform and get onto the Eurostar in London, it's a very short time. And then there's good quality 2 hours, and I can read, rest, or do some work on my laptop. And then 1 hour to cross Paris, and then from Paris to Barcelona, 6 hours. Really good quality time, very relaxing. So I believe that the journey, although it's many years since I've taken a plane, But I believe the journey is actually there's much less wasted time in the train journey than there is in the aeroplane journey, and much less stressful. So, save a 7-hour economy return flight will save 3 tons of CO2. And if you really want to travel to somewhere a long way away, and you think that flying is the only way you can do it, then save up your money and save up your time for 5 years and go to Thailand or go to South America for 2 months. Once every 5 years is 1/5 of the carbon footprint than just going for 2 weeks every year. And you have a much deeper travel experience, which promotes that inner journey that we come back feeling a new person a little bit, and we feel really satisfied. I think extracting the satisfaction, the modern life with lots of fossil fuels, etc., it's hard to extract deep satisfaction from that life. And I'm very excited about the challenge of creating climate equilibrium on Earth, because it's going to lead us to the lives we really want to live. And I believe that when I would be honored to come here again in 10 years' time, and we're living in the much lower carbon lives. I believe that when we all do this exercise, what's our quality of life today on a scale of 1 to 10? I hope and believe that we will all have raised our quality of life by several points, thanks to living more in harmony with the planet. Purchase high-quality, long-lasting products, I mentioned before. It saves a lot of shopping time. If I buy a cheap toaster, I will need to buy a new toaster once every 3 years. Multiply that by all the white goods in my kitchen, all the toaster and the cooker and the washing machine and the dishwasher and all these machines. If I'm buying cheap products that break every 3 years, I spend my life every few years going back to the shops, buying things again and again. Luckily, my mother and father know that I like quality, long-lasting products. So they bought me a toaster 15 years ago. It's called Dualit, and it says on the side, handmade in England. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think we made anything by hand in England anymore. I've had it for 15 years, and I genuinely believe that one toaster will last the rest of my life. And it's the best toaster. It's the most beautiful toaster. It's the most trendy toaster. It's a nice mint green color. It looks very good on my sideboard. It's going to save me a fortune in toasters over my life. And it's going to save me so much shopping time. When I give a longer talk, 1 hour, and I have feedback from everybody who says the actions to improve your quality of life, most people say something to do with time. Spend more time with the family. Spend more time with my beloved. Spend more time with my children. Spend more time in nature. Often spend more time. That's what people want to improve their quality of life. And if you buy all your products in your house once, buy the best ones, the ones that last your whole life, you've got the rest of your life so much time to enjoy gardening, walking, making love. You know, these days, how often do I overhear someone making love? How often do I disturb someone when I knock on their door because they're busy making love? Not very often. Perhaps we should be making love a lot more. And you wouldn't believe that buying quality, long-lasting products contributes to making love. But yes, a low-carbon lifestyle contributes to making love. Repair, reuse, and buy half your products second-hand. You'll save money. You can afford higher quality products. Buying from others enhances the community spirit. It's a difficult choice. When my hi-fi breaks down and someone tells me it'll cost the same to buy a new hi-fi as repair the old hi-fi, it's a difficult choice. Actually, if you have a quality, long-lasting product, better to spend the money repairing the old hi-fi, because that money goes straight to the man or the woman in the local shop, and it feeds their family immediately in the local area. You know, in England, they say that if you spend €1 in a local shop, then 90 cents stays in the local economy. But if you spend €1 in a national chain shop, only 45 cents stays in the local economy. So anything we can do to give money to the shops and the repairers who are in our own town is going to give us more money. It's going to make our town more wealthy. So repairing and buying local products. So these 10 actions will raise your quality of life and reduce your carbon footprint by 80%. I've written an award-winning online carbon footprint calculator. I've been calculating my quality of life for 20 years, and my own carbon footprint is about 4.5 tons per year. And still, I can still go on holiday in Mallorca. I still have a car, electric car. I try not to use it very much, mostly for work, but I still have an old house, which is quite a beautiful house, quite spacious house. So we can live the life of our dreams, more the life of our dreams, with a very small carbon footprint and have more time and energy. So it's a virtuous life cycle that encourages energy, enthusiasm, and motivation, and is influential to others. So that's it. That's my talk. Thank you very much for listening. So I haven't seen the sign that says 3 minutes, so I have a few more minutes, so there's time for questions. Is it okay for questions? 3 minutes for questions. Does anyone have a question? There's one there. Yeah, ask your question. I can understand Spanish. Hablo español.
Si alguien tiene una pregunta, que levante la mano.
If anyone has a question, please raise your hand.
Muchas gracias por su intervención.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask you, one of the things that I'm most worried about is waste. We generate a great deal of waste. Even when we buy organic food, biologic food, everything is packaged in plastic. And every time I take my plastic bag out to the street, I think, what an enormous amount of plastic. How can we reduce this? What can we do to reduce plastic waste?
Use. ¿Cómo reducimos uso de plástico? Sí. In September, I had a plastic-free month. So for 1 month, I said, I'm not going to buy anything with plastic. And I had some food in my house already. I was lucky I already had some dried food like rice, lentils, etc. But it was a very interesting experience. You can survive 1 month, or if you prefer, you could try 1 week. It's very interesting. I walk into shops, and the whole aisles, I just walk past, can't buy anything, can't buy anything, can't buy anything. And I go only to the bakery and the vegetables, and some shops will cut the cheese there, and so they can give you cheese in a paper bag, or you take your own bag and put the cheese in. And some shops have the eggs in cardboard box. And I don't know about buying meat, for example. I'm sure there's ways. So to try hard for just 1 month is a good way, or 1 week, because that gives you a chance to really practice. And you find that you go to different shops. There are some shops in England which sell everything loose. and so you have to put it in your own bag. So I don't know if that's possible, but it also takes you to the farmers' markets and the local markets instead of the supermarkets. Again, money going into the local economy. That's my best recommendation. Try for 1 month. And it's definitely possible. You have to get much more used to taking your own bag with you and when you go shopping. But it's definitely possible to live without plastic. So many countries in the world live without plastic.
Thanks.
Another question?
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
There at the back. Si hablas en español un poco lento, por favor.
Sí, no sé lo que prefieres.
Well, if you prefer, I can speak in English, but in any case, my question, I like the anecdote that you tell us about your toaster. And I always try to buy quality products that last a long time. But it's hard for me to find how am I going to know that a product is going to last a long time? There isn't an index or something, an indication, a sticker on the products to tell you that they're more long-lasting. So I would like to know how you do it. How do you find these the different devices that last longer than others?
How to find products that last a long time. So one question, I go into the shop and I say to the shopkeeper, I expect the shopkeeper to know about what they're selling. The traditional shopkeepers used to know about what they were selling. So I expect them to know. I say, which of these products will last the longest? At least they have to start learning if they don't already know. Usually there's one of the people in the shop knows better than the others, and they will come forward and they say, well, this one here is probably going to last the longest. Also, you start to find, if you ask that question, which shops have more intelligence about their own products, and you can favor those shops. And often it's the shops that specialize. So in a supermarket, in England, in the supermarket now, they're selling food and clothes and electric goods and everything. Nobody in the supermarket knows anything about those products. But if I go to a small local shop which just specializes in hi-fis, or just specializes in vacuum cleaners, they know which are the products that they sell and they never come back. Usually, there's a rule of thumb, the most expensive product. And it's difficult to save up. For some people, it's difficult to save up. I've sometimes gone many years. A friend of mine came around and I said, I don't drink coffee. How do you make good coffee? And he said, he was watching me at the cooker. I said, how do you make good coffee? He said, I don't know, Muk. I've never seen anyone make coffee in a frying pan. Because I had to wait some time before buying a cafetiere because I didn't have the money at the time to buy a cafetiere. We can make do with less and save up and think, what do I really need next? Then go and buy that high-quality product, and maybe it's the most expensive. I've got an electric drill that I bought, which cost me 5 times as much as the cheap electric drill. And I've had it 28 years. It's by a German company called Metabo. 28 years. I think that electric drill is going to last for the rest of my life. So, and the shopkeeper knew which product would last a long time. So that's my best advice. Ask the shopkeepers. I think that's the time. So thank you again. Have a wonderful life.